and see you tomorrow. Good afternoon, WildEarth, and welcome to the Penguin Beach Show. We are down here at the Stony Point African Penguin and Seabird Colony. My name is Byron Loebscher, and I'm going to be your naturalist for the day. I'm joined behind the camera by Flippy, and Flippy is so stoked to be here. I can see that he is smiling from ear to ear. This is a live show, and we would love to hear from you. You can find us on Twitter by using the hashtag WildEarth. All you need to do is send your comments and questions there. You can also head over to our website, register, and post your comments and questions under the live feed. And if you are under the age of 18, send your emails to kidssquestions@wildearth.tv. There's some action happening out there offshore, and we're going to see if we can spot what is taking place out there in the water. There are a number of terns that are plunge diving, and they look like they are acquiring some fish that are situated quite close to the surface. And we really hope that we can bring some of this action to you this afternoon. Often with these bait balls that are situated close to shore and close to the surface of the water, there are generally predatory fish around as well. The terns, the little white birds that you see, can only dive very, very shallow and rely on predatory fish to push their prey close to the surface. It is a beautiful day down here in Betty's Bay. Let's head over to the official weather forecast and see what is in store for us at Stony Point. Degrees Celsius, a nice mild day, but there isn't a lot of wind down here. There is a very, very slight onshore breeze blowing that has a slight cooling effect, but you would have noticed that I was in a t-shirt, so I am feeling rather comfortable. This is actually the perfect weather to be an African penguin or a seabird, because there are no real chances of overheating on land. So you'll notice that there is a lot of activity. It's quite far offshore from us, probably about 1 kilometer or so offshore. Hello, Darkmane lover, and welcome back to the show. We are so happy that you are joining us today, and sit back, relax, and watch all the action. We are down here at Cormorant Cove, and there is a lot of activity taking place, not only offshore from us, but also right in front of us on the rocks. Flippy is pointing to me at something far offshore. Not quite sure what he has seen. We did see the spout of a whale a little bit earlier, and that is why we headed straight offshore towards the birds and the bait ball to see if we can pick up the spout of this elusive whale species. In all likelihood, at this time of the year, it would be a bride's whale, which are notorious for spending long periods of time underwater and moving irregularly. So we do have our work cut out for us today. Flippy, let's head down here to all the seabirds that are occupying the rocks. Let's see what they are getting up to. There really is a lot of action down here, lots of wing flapping and a lot of bird calls. I can hear the piping calls typical of young birds, and I believe that is coming from the cormorants. A lot of the white-breasted cormorants have had chicks, and a number of them have already fledged.
Find a way into the kill to eat, get their fill in there as well. But they're also going to be told off. See, lions are not great at sharing their food. Okay, guys. Let me just taking frustration out on the other lion, but you see, it was interesting.
My favorite thing about WildEarth are the animals and the interaction and the ability to wait and watch and not rush off. You get to watch their behavior and learn about the individuals. I would like to see the hyenas at the hyena den, and I have. There they are. Look at that. If I could be any animal, I would be a cheetah. I would love to run fast.
Immature cormorants will have very light coloration on their breast and on their stomach, where juvenile cormorants will have white all the way down to their feet. Hello, Sugar Bits. I'm just going to ask Jarrett, our director, to repeat that question for me. And Sugar Bits, welcome to the show. It is always fantastic to hear from you and have you here with us. I myself am very excited to be down at Cormorant Cove because this area is notorious for its species diversity, and we can observe a number of different bird species in this region, and of course visit a lot of the characters we have observed in the past. Sugar Bits, indeed, some water creatures up close. I really hope that we can. We have actually seen a Cape fur seal as well, so we are keeping our eyes peeled. Maybe we can bring some marine mammals to the show. I know that a whale will be very, very exciting. So we'll keep our eyes peeled, looking far offshore to spot any of this activity. Look who is in frame at the moment. We have a beautiful little Kitlitz's plover chick, and it is so small and fluffy. It really, really is cute, and it is quite difficult to actually identify that little chick when it sits still. Of course, it is moving at the moment, and when it moves, it does give its location away. But if there is any danger whatsoever, that little chick will freeze and blend in perfectly with its natural surroundings. I'm even struggling to pick it up without using Flippy's awesome camera skills. So I'm looking at it with a very wide field of view and can't see it at the moment. Kathy Lee, welcome to the show. It's fantastic to hear from you. The babies really do grow up so quickly. It's incredible to think that when they are 22 years, it's a bit old, 22 days old, that they will already take their first flight, and they will fledge shortly after that. So it is a very, very quick period, the development of young when it comes to the kittlets plovers. I'm very excited to see these chicks. I have seen a number of white-fronted plover chicks around the coast, but these are actually my first kittlets plovers chicks, which is very, very exciting. If you look at that frame, it would nearly be impossible to spot those chicks at a distance. There is a lot of activity taking place from a variety of cormorant species. You can see a lot of wing flapping happening. Some are flapping their wings to dry them off, like that individual. That beautiful white-breasted cormorant has just come out of the water, and cormorants' feathers are moderately wettable.
My name is Amy Macmillan. I'm the owner and founder of Ellie and May and one of the directors of the Macmillan Conservation Fund. My brother Mike and I were incredibly close and both share a great passion for conservation, for wildlife, for nature, for elephants in particular. Tragically, Mike was killed in a car accident. It was through his passion and enthusiasm for conservation and for elephants that really prompted me to start Ellie and May. Ellie and May is a lifestyle apparel brand that contributes towards and raises awareness about elephant conservation. So a percentage of our sales of our caps and our products goes towards the Macmillan Conservation Fund. The aim of the Macmillan Conservation Fund is to support other conservation initiatives through anti-poaching, through the conservation of Africa's wildlife, community upliftment, development and education, and at the heart of it all, keeping Mike's legacy alive.
I really do enjoy watching the cormorants as soon as they come out of the water. Hello, Sally, and thank you so much for your question. So, when the cormorants are born, they are actually sparsely covered with down. So there is actually some bare skin around as well. And they are actually completely blind for the first couple of days and can look quite helpless. They don't have the exact same plumage color as the adults, and they only develop that coloration after a couple of about a month or so. And the down is a little bit sooty, so it's like a grayish color. And it does vary from cormorant species to cormorant species, of course, but the white-breasted cormorant in particular, the chick starts out with a sooty grayish down that becomes denser, or not denser, it becomes darker and darker in time. So definitely a different coloration to the adults. And that is why you'll often see the adults spending a lot of time, especially when the chicks have just hatched. And that is because they lack a lot of feathers, and of course that limits their insulatory capabilities. Cormorant Cove, of course, also hosts the African penguins. And we are viewing 3 individuals that look quite comfortable in the sun. One is facing directly towards the wind, but I'm sure that that rock in front of it is creating a very nice windbreak, and those rocks have heated up throughout the course of the day, so I'm sure that that particular individual is very, very comfortable at this time. And they are relaxing I'll be very interested to know if the two that are standing very close together, you can actually see their shadows linking up in front of them, if that is in fact a breeding pair, because they are standing very, very close to one another, and penguins generally do not tolerate one another if they are not in the courtship phase. Hello, Cameron. I would say that all these bird species live in harmony to a certain extent. So you'll notice with penguins and with cormorants, they generally do not bother one another unless they enter each other's personal bubble. And a seabird like a penguin or a cormorant, their personal bubble is relatively large. You can actually get quite close to any of these seabirds without disturbing them too much, but they would consider it an invasion of their personal space, whether you are a human or another seabird or any other species that occurs down here, if you come within pecking distance. So as long as you stay out of pecking distance, the majority of these species will live in harmony down here. If there was a kelp gull present, I would say that the kelp gull is probably the bird that the majority of these species least like to see, and that is because the kelp gull is a predator of seabird eggs as well as chicks. Those little kitlet plovers that we were observing earlier would be a very, very easy source of prey for a kelp gull.
Our Western Cape coastline is graced with the Cape fur seal. This playful species is curious and entertaining. At Hout Bay Seal Rescue Centre, seals in need are rescued, fed and nursed back to health by our well-trained team of dedicated staff and volunteers. This wonderful legacy of the centre is continued as these protected creatures are rehabilitated and released back into the wild.
In the woodlands of Juma lives a lion pride with a taste for buffalo.
Look, 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 this is insane. Now, this is what I was saying about lions and buffalo. It's absolute pandemonium.
WildEarth have been privileged to follow the Nkuhuma pride for many years. One of the most loved cats in the pride is Amber Eyes. She was not successful in rearing her first 2 litter of cubs and was seen as an aunt to the other youngsters. Then eventually, towards the end of August 2019, we found her with 4 tiny cubs of her own.
This kelp gull doesn't look like it is interested in going to any of the nests at this stage. Let's just get a little bit closer to that bird, Flippy. I saw something that looked like its bill was curved a bit. I actually don't think that that is a kelp gull. It looked like a juvenile kelp gull, but that actually looks like a pelagic bird that might have ended up on the rocks here. Darkmane Lover, that is a very difficult question to answer. Darkmane Lover would like to know what water bird has a memory like an elephant. And of course, if we look at the difference in size, if you had to compare an elephant's brain to a bird's brain, there is a very, very large difference. And if you actually look at a bird's skull, you'll notice that the eyes actually take up most of the space in the skull. So I wouldn't say that any of the seabirds have a memory like an elephant. Of course, seabirds are able to navigate very well over long distances and also find the same nests over and over and the same locations over and over, but I don't think we can compare seabirds to an elephant. I can do a little bit more research for you, Darkmane Lover, and see which bird has the most long-lasting memory. See if I can report back to you with regards to that. Flippy, what did you see when you looked at that bird? Did you think juvenile kelp gull? I looked at that bill and I just saw that it looked very curved. So I'm a little bit... You don't think so? So Flippy is saying that he doesn't think that it is a kelp gull. I wonder if Jax is watching and can assist us with that. We're going to try and identify it. What's really thrown me off is the shape of the bill, but the bird is sitting with its back to us. No, it is a kelp gull. So I don't know if while we were looking at it at that angle, the bill looked a little bit different, but I've got that kelp gull in full view now, and I can definitely say that it is a 2-year-old kelp gull. The bill looked really decurved at one stage to me, and I thought maybe we have had a pelagic bird blown into shore, which does happen in these regions. And I always say it's better to be safe than sorry. And sometimes these common birds can create a little bit of confusion, especially when the shadows are playing tricks on you. There was a lovely vocalization in the background, quite a loud vocalization, and that was made by the water thickneys that are doing their best to stay camouflaged during the daytime. They don't move too much during the day and like to stay still and blend in with their natural environment. There they are, a pair of water thickneys, I would say, loafing about on the shore. And just look at the area that they have chosen to relax in, close to a rock, and just note the coloration of the soil, how it blends with their plumage and really creates camouflage for this species of bird. I always find it amazing that an animal can camouflage itself out in the open. And that is why you see a number of birds, especially ground birds, a number of birds that spend most of their time on the ground will have dull plumage. So the Kittlitz plover Senac is a resident breeding plover, so it doesn't migrate. We do get a number of different plover species that will migrate. Some will breed here and others will not breed here. But the Kittlitz plover isn't limited or restricted to the shoreline. You'll find them around most areas where there are water bodies, and they will create a shallow little scrape right on the surface of the soil to make their nests, generally about 100 meters from water. So this is quite cool to see the Kittlitz plovers very close to the edge of the water. But you can find the Kittlitz plover breeding in South Africa, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and even Namibia. So where there is water, they will be found throughout Southern Africa.
My name is Tessa. I studied animals and insects, and I specialized in African vertebrate biodiversity. But first and foremost, I am a naturalist here at WildEarth. What inspired me to become a naturalist was a combination of a childhood love and passion for wildlife from our family holidays. It just became this amazing passion, and it ignited this fire that just would not go away. To me, the skills that a naturalist should have would be that passion, making sure that you know why you've got that passion and keeping it going no matter what. The determination to never give up, because it's not the easiest place to be, but I can tell you in my experience it's the best place to be, with the biggest differences that you can make. If I could be any animal, I think I would be a leopard. To me, they're the perfect combination of elegance and power and determination and independence, and yet just so beautiful.
that is so awesome to see the adult and the chick in frame, and the adult is moving off to the right hand side and the chick moved off to the left hand side. And as it was moving off to the left hand side, I completely lost sight of it. But the adult is quite conspicuous in comparison to the chick, and I'm sure is searching for sand fleas or kelp flies amongst the stranded kelp. This is a very good place to rear chicks when it comes to an abundance of food. Hello Moonbeam, that is a fantastic question. And Moonbeam has asked, do birds come in slightly different colors in comparison to their location? So you definitely get different color morphs of the same species. I have definitely seen the same species in completely different habitats spread across the country of South Africa that look exactly the same. But what can happen in an area, there might be more pale colored birds of a particular type of bird, and this happens a lot with raptors, for example, and those birds start to breed and they form or create a different color morph, which could be a paler morph. Sometimes they are even melanistic forms, and that is often recorded in gabar goshawks, where the normal gabar goshawk that you would see is quite grey in plumage coloration, and the melanistic form is completely black and beautiful. So there definitely are different color morphs, but birds can look exactly the same in different areas of the country or the continent as well. This Kidlitz plover has decided to sit down and take a little bit of a break from foraging. It's quite nice, they don't have to move too far to search for prey. I would say that the main danger to the chicks in this area is definitely flooding. If there is a large swell and a spring high tide, flooding would be a major issue. And you can actually tell because there's so much kelp washed up in the region that they are foraging. So that means that seawater will wash up into that region. And then of course the kelp gulls that occupy this area could also pick them up if they stray too far away from the parents. Generally, dad will spend a lot of time during the early stages of their development when the chicks are foraging by themselves, and will keep guard over the chicks, and the chicks are very well adapted to standing still and blending in with their environment. If a predator like a kelp gull does decide to show up and try predate on them, it is very nice to see that both chicks are still in this area and that mom and dad are doing very well. So doing a great job in rearing their young.
I'm not going to come too close because I know you got your babies. And hello you old friend. Isn't she spectacular?
Oh look, it's just too special. She's such a fantastic mother. Look at that, isn't that incredible?
All WildEarth explorers have a chance to join our naturalists in a monthly fireside chat. This is a great way to learn more about our guides, animal characters, and wildlife locations. We would love to hear from you as to the topics that interest you the most. Email us your ideas or tweet using the hashtag WildEarth, and we will be sure to take them into account when planning our evenings around the fire in the future. WildEarth explorers, it's in your nature.
You can tell that they are Cape Cormorants by looking at that orange-yellow gular flap. And there appears to be some younger birds there as well. It looked like they are trying to get some food from the adults, even though they can head out by themselves. Flippy has spotted a number of birds flying over the open ocean. Quite tricky to see what they are, but there definitely is a lot of bait fish activity quite close to shore. It's nice to just watch the ocean, the swell lines coming through towards us here at Stony Point. Very beautiful, relaxing scenes to watch the ocean in motion, and also very positive to note that there is such a lot of life in this area. Hello, monkey, and welcome to the show. Fantastic name. Primates are one of my favorite animals, in particular baboons. Baboons are actually a monkey as well, believe it or not. So to my knowledge, monkey, I believe that birds only have a gular flap. I don't believe that the same term is used in mammals. It could be used in reptiles if I think a little bit. I think that there are gular flaps and gular pouches in reptiles, but I do stand corrected. I will actually have to go and research that question for you, monkey, and just see if I am correct. But I don't think that term applies to mammals, definitely birds, and I believe that it in all likelihood applies to reptiles as well. I can recall reptiles having gular pouches or gular flaps as well. Cormorant Cove just keeps on producing. As I mentioned earlier, the species diversity is fantastic down here, and we have been joined by one of my favorite birds, the little egret, with its beautiful white plumage, black-grey bill, black-grey legs, and what differentiates it from all the other cormorant species are its yellow feet. It's just ducked down behind a rock. Maybe it found some prey items. So monkey, crocodiles and lizards, a number of them do have gular flaps as well. So it appears that that term is used for the class of reptiles and the class of birds. At least I can remember something from my days back at university. It definitely did ring a bell indeed. So that little egret has just ducked away from us as soon as we were trying to observe its beautiful yellow feet. And that egret could also potentially be a predator of the kittlets, plover chicks. They do like to eat nestlings occasionally, and the majority of the time they like to eat fish. But this egret is hanging around on dry land, so in all likelihood looking for another type of prey. They also eat insects, of course, and there are a number of insects that are attracted to the kelp because it is a great food source for invertebrates. You'll notice that the cormorant right in the center of the frame is an adult, and you can tell that because the white coloration of the feathers on the is restricted to the breast.
There's a big male leopard coming this way.
I've been waiting for a sighting of the two of them like this together.
She just, for me, is just one of the most pretty females out here.
As you can see, we're sitting with the Duke of Djuma Tingana, who is busy surveying his territory as the sun begins to set on another day in South Africa.
Here at WildEarth, we have added a range of new products and designs for the WildEarth shop. If you love being in nature, then we have a new range just for you. Our animal character line continues to grow, and this week we have incorporated a beautiful Tandy design to celebrate our favorite queen's life. April is Earth Day month, and investing in our planet is the message. And finally, there's a range just for our very own WildEarth explorers. Head over to our shop now and see what you can find.
The one chick is doing its best to encourage its parent to regurgitate. Can see that the adult was opening and closing its bill just a little bit. It's quite typical of adult birds when they are regurgitating food. We have observed it in the Shire with the African penguins there as well. And look at those necks, those long necks, how they move up and down. And these chicks are really having a go. They are doing a good job at begging. I really hope that we do get to observe this parent provisioning its chick with food. You'll notice that the chick actually flew away, so it can already fly. It didn't fly very, very far and is in close proximity to the nest. When these chicks reach an age of about 40 days old, they can actually go and acquire food for themselves, but like to hang on to mom and dad for some free meals. Little chick in the nest looks like it's testing its wings. Quite indecisive. Not as accomplished as its more developed sibling that was able to fly off the nest. Anything with 8 legs in the area, moonbeam. Not currently on camera, all that we can see at the moment. We will keep our eyes out for any organisms that have 8 legs. Moonbeam, I wonder if you are a fan of arachnids and crustaceans. We might be able to pick a crustacean up around the rocks, but at this stage we do not see any, unfortunately, but we'll definitely keep you in mind, Moonbeam. It seems like you have an affinity for some animals with a higher leg count than 2 or 4 or even 6 for that fact.
My heart rate has gone up slightly. In fact, it's gone up quite a lot.
This elephant is now 2 meters from us. Okay, we might have to move here. No? Yes. Sorry, my friend, but you're about to push that onto the car. You see how cross he was that we didn't want to watch him push the tree over. That's why we moved.
Tingana has been affectionately known as the Duke of Djuma for many years, but his path to the throne was not an easy one. Mvula was a legend from the south.
This is the cat that I'm pretty sure Tingana was sniffing around for. That is Mvula. How exciting is this?
Eventually, Mvula lost, but his young son Quarantine started to push through from the east. At the beginning of 2018, an intruder arrived. His name was Hukamuri.
There's absolutely no spillage whatsoever. Of course, hunting for yourself and for chicks requires a lot of energy expenditure. And to ensure that it isn't wasted is paramount. Of course, it reduces the demands on the parent. The water thickneys are still sitting motionless, and they've been joined by an adult Egyptian goose. It is also relaxing. In an area with the lee, so it's quite nice and warm there as the rocks block the wind. And that Egyptian goose is engaging in preening behavior. Seems to have a partner just hidden behind one of the rocks. Arctic Circle, that is a great question. So it's also a very difficult question because different activities happen during the different tides. So I really do love wading birds, and in particular the African black oyster catcher, as well as the little egret, and they are generally more active around the low tide when the intertidal zones are exposed. So when the water pulls back off the rocks, it exposes the limpet and mussel beds for the African black oyster catcher, as well as a number of other sea snails and worms. And what the low tide does for the little egret is it creates rock pools that trap fish. So it creates a very nice area for the egrets to hunt. So I really enjoy observing those activities. So low tide is one of my favorite times. But then if you look at the high tide and we observe the African penguin, the high tide is really cool to watch the African penguins because they move into close proximity to one another. And when they move in close proximity like that, they often have scuffles between each other. So it can be very entertaining to watch. But if I had to choose between the tides, I would definitely say low tide because I like to observe the waders. If I had to select a tide for a particular species, and if I selected the African penguin, I would say that watching the African penguin on high tide would be my absolute favorite. Not only because they come into close proximity to one another, because it is also entertaining watching them enter and exit the water, especially when there is a large swell around, and just to admire how this little African penguin has adapted to its environment so well, being so small and being able to take on the frigid, quite strong, treacherous Atlantic waters as well. So the tide is pushing at the moment, so it was low tide this morning, and High tide is closer to around 5 o'clock, and you can see the water washing up on the rocks, and as it gets closer to 5 o'clock, a lot of those very, very brown rocks are going to be covered in water, and that is going to concentrate the distribution of the seabirds around the colony.
This morning we were driving and suddenly we heard a lot of commotion. I think the wild dogs might have caught an impala then, or the leopard might have caught the impala, and as it was dragging it, the wild dog saw it, started chasing the leopard up into the tree, and then the hyenas came to steal it. But what an incredible sighting.
So penguins often get their plumage covered in guano, and that is why we observe them swimming so frequently. It's very easy to wash off guano and other debris just by entering the seawater. You'll notice how panicked that juvenile got when the adult came past it, and that is because the adults like to pick on them, and that juvenile did its best to avoid any confrontation. It kept itself out of pecking distance, and now that that adult has moved off, it has started to relax again. Moonbeam, I need to make sure I get this question right. What is the velocity of a coconut-laden penguin? I'm stumped. I have absolutely no idea, but I believe that I need to watch the movie Madagascar maybe to find that out. I could be wrong, but Moonbeam, thank you so much for that question. I'm not sure if there actually is an answer that I can provide you. I must say that Flippy's looking quite confused as well. The only reason I made reference to Madagascar was because Jarrett down at the Master Control said that he hopes I've watched Madagascar and paid attention during the movie. I definitely have watched it, but many, many years ago. So very difficult to remember exactly what happened, and unfortunately the coconuts have not rung a bell. Definitely one of the downfalls of getting older and older. But Moonbeam, thank you so much, and thanks for the entertainment. You've definitely brought a smile to my face. Look at the concentration there, Flippy, of that individual. Kelp beds are still nice and exposed during the mid-tide. In the next couple of hours, the majority of those kelp beds will be hidden from view. And the wave action is going to be taking place a lot closer to the rocks. One of the benefits of a kelp bed being so close to the shore is that it breaks up the strength or the velocity of the waves before the wave reaches the shoreline. That is the typical behavior of a kelp gull, just bobbing around on the surface of the water, waiting for an opportunity to find food, just pedaling around with its webbed feet, not expending too much energy. this kelp gull could take to the air at any stage. It might even see another bird with fish or any other food items in its bill. And of course, kelp gulls like to wait around for other birds to do the work, and then the kelp gull will steal the food that the other bird has acquired. A very notorious kleptoparasite. And that is why these birds are so successful throughout their range. Very, very adaptable, and they have a number of different feeding habits. Kleptoparasitism being just one of them. You can still see that there is activity offshore, indicating that there is a presence of bait fish.
With the traditional stories I've learned that it does have future and a past. If you follow it, you will never ever go wrong in life. It's very important because it contains, of course, the history background and the knowledge of the bush. In each every family they have so-called a tree or amarula tree. We'll go there and kneel down and talk to the tree and said, we want success in the family.
Ribbon is the matriarch and has recently been seen with injuries to her body. Corky was the previous matriarch and is believed to be taking back her status. Intima was born to Ribbon in February 2017 and also enjoys a high ranking. Heart is the next rank down, and in June is believed to be the lowest rank, easily recognizable by a floppy left ear.
And of course, when different species are hunting the same source of prey and using different techniques, those different techniques can benefit the other species. For example, if the cormorants go below the baitfish, they can push the baitfish to the surface, which will bring them into reach of the terns as well as the gulls that are not well adapted to swimming underwater. I haven't seen the spout of a bride's whale again, so we only saw it twice just before the show started. We are coming into whale season in the Western Cape, and the southern right whales do come to calve in this area, and the humpback whales do migrate past the coastlines here, so hopefully we will bump into some whales. Hello Vicky, yes, you do get kelp beds out in the middle of the ocean, but generally the kelp that we see, which is Eclonia maxima, or also known as sea bamboo, grows in areas where the water depth is about 15 meters. So generally in areas deeper than that, you won't find the kelp beds around the Western Cape. There are, however, species of sea bamboo in California that can get to a much greater height and therefore are likely to be found further offshore. A good example of kelp beds offshore are kelp beds around Dyer Island, and these kelp beds appears to sort of occur in the middle of the ocean, directly between the mainland and Dyer Island, where there is a rocky substrate and where the water is just slightly shallower. Just listen to those vocalizations of the water thickening. Very, very beautiful sound. Starts off with the call quite quickly and then goes into a descendo, slowing it down and ending off the call. We're looking at a group of cormorants, and there's a variety of species there. There are Cape cormorants with their beautiful orange gular patch, and some bank cormorants as well. The bank cormorant is the larger, darker bird that has just popped its head and neck up. It has a little crest around its forehead as well. The majority of those cormorants are Cape cormorants. I know Cedric was very excited to see 4 different cormorant species in one area, something that he has never observed before, and seeing the bank cormorant was a highlight for him because it is an endangered species and he hasn't had the opportunity to observe bank cormorants where he usually hangs out. You can hear the sound of it.
3 brothers named the Avoca males arrived in Djuma in 2018. This area had recently been vacated by the Birmingham boys. In 2019, they were seen mating with females from both prides and went on to sire cubs with them. The most recognizable lion in this coalition is Darkmane. Aside from the dark mane that gave him his name, he can be recognized by a distinctive limp.
In that tree are 2 carcasses. There's a duiker carcass and a waterbuck. Oh, it's not as graceful as... He's a bit hesitant because, well, climbing a tree is not the easiest, but he will get up there eventually. So let's see, there he goes. And look at the power in that. That is a massive 500-pound cat that has just climbed a marula tree and is up in there. How cool is this? I don't know how he's going to do it, but let's see.
Flippy, can we have a look at the Kitlitz plover chicks again? I can see one of the little chicks moving around that large piece of kelp on the sand. Luke, the waves do look very cool. That was fantastic, just watching the cormorants sitting on that rock and observing this beautiful right-hand point break rolling in there with not a lot of wind on it. So there's actually quite a nice wave that breaks off Stony Point. I haven't seen anyone surf it. I have heard surfers talking about it, but I am yet to see anyone catch a wave out here. But it does look really, really good, especially when the waves are quite large. I just enjoy watching those waves roll in. It's so relaxing, and they do look so beautiful and glassy at the moment with this very, very light wind blowing. You can just see the little Kitlitz plover chick right on the edge of the kelp. I just love how cryptic it is in this environment. So difficult to observe, and only when it really dashes about do you get a good sighting of it. I don't see there is one of the parents. The other chick is closer to the adult. Just on the right hand side of this chick that we are observing, and I'm sure that that is Dad keeping a good eye on them. What a fantastic afternoon it has been down here at Penguin Beach. I really love exploring Cormorant Cove with all the viewers and with Flippy, and it's been so cool to watch these Kitlitz plover chicks. I really wanted to get out here to Cormorant Cove to observe them for myself. Of course, my first Kitlitz plover chicks as well. And I really cannot wait for tomorrow. Everyone tune in tomorrow for another action-packed Penguin Beach show. And everyone enjoy the sunset safari this evening. From myself and Flippy, cheers everyone and have a good day.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.